So now that we have our frame of reference set, we have our scale set so that all of our position information is truly in meters, our time information is truly in seconds, we are going to go ahead and step through the analysis of our graphs. So remember that if I want to change what's displayed on a graph, I find the axis title where that variable is located, and I can click there and select what I want to display. This will eventually be fairly complex because we will work with data sets that have multiple trials, and there's going to be a lot to learn about this menu. But for now, it's very easy. I can either display the position as is currently displayed in the X or horizontal direction right along this yellow line, this frame of reference that I've put in, or the X velocity along that line. And there's several aspects of the graph that we'll want to learn to work with. Let's start with the easiest, with the title and with scaling, just like you would if you were graphing by hand. To get to options for the graph, you can simply double click anywhere on the graphing grid. So I'm just going to double click there, and you'll see that some options come up. I'm going to start with the graph options, and the first of those is a title. So I'm going to call this graph How Position Varies with Time. And I could probably add to that for a cart on an incline to be more descriptive. And of all the other options that are here, you can explore them. There's color options and other options there, but that's not so central. I'm going to go just with the title there, and then over on the other button I'm going to choose axes options. Now there's a lot here as well, but the two most important are the pop-ups here on scaling for the y-axis, and the x-axis information down here has a scaling pop-up as well. And in both of those, I'm going to choose, at least for starters, the auto scale from 0. It's not the default in most versions of LoggerPro that I've seen, so you do want to come in and get to those options. So for now, I'm just going to select auto scale from 0 for both axes and click OK. And what it's going to do is it's going to scale to 0 on both axes. Doesn't change the data at all. It just changes the scaling for my graph, which we always want to be at 0, 0. One thing to notice, though, is that if I put my cursor up here towards the top of this axis, you'll see it turn into a squiggly little snake-like thing. And I can click and hold and drag these scales to resize them as well. So if you're not happy with the way things look down here on the x-axis, I can do the same thing until the graph looks the way you want it to look. Now, this title obviously goes with the other data set for position. So I'm going to go back to position. I'm going to rearrange the scale just a touch so I can see that last data point. And I'm going to consider this graph completed. I'm not going to do anything more with it. And so it's ready to copy and paste into a Google document for a lab write-up. You might, before doing that, resize the graph so you can see that I can resize this. The advantage of resizing is that when I cut and paste this into Google Documents, it's going to paste just as it is here. So the dimensions are going to expand to fill a page, and it's going to be much easier to read if I do it that way. So this graph is ready to be exported and put into a Google document. Nothing more to do there. When we have a linear graph, like we do with the horizontal velocity, two things should happen. One is I'm going to want to change the title now. So if I double click on the graph and go back to my title, I'm going to change this title to How Velocity Varies with Time for a cart moving down a ramp, and I'll just hit OK because I'm already scaled the way I want to be. And this next part is, I think, the neatest part of the program. Your icons may look a little bit different. I'm using the Mac version of the program, but somewhere you're going to find up here at the top of the screen the linear fit tool. And all I have to do, as long as the graph is selected, so make sure it's got the little grab handles on it, it's the active window. If I just click that button, it's going to do what we've been doing by hand for a long time, which is calculating a slope and a vertical intercept. So if you look closely here on the screen, you can see this data that pops up with the best fit line, and it includes the slope and the vertical intercept. We are mostly interested in the slope for this particular graph, but we may use the intercepts as well at times. I can move this box where I want to. I want to try to get it out of the way if I can. It's not great in that I have to leave it on the graph somewhere when I copy and paste into Google Documents so the data comes with me. But I think if I put it about there, I can still see the graph, the best fit line, and I can read that slope. So again, if I select the graph, I can copy and paste this straight into a Google document as part of my write-up. And that's all there is to analyzing data. It gives you a chance to title graphs, to make sure the axes are scaled the way you want them, and in the case of linear patterns, to determine slopes with best fit lines for all the data you need in a write-up.